Welcome to the Mormon Medium Podcast, where we'll talk about spirituality, the paranormal, religion, and my journey in becoming a Mormon medium. I'm Nanette Ride. Thanks for listening. Now let's go have some fun.
Don't be afraid. Close your eyes. There's a moon overhead, but the sun will rise. Blood on our lips, such a poisonous bite. The sound of our hearts go bump, bump, bump in the night.
Welcome to the Mormon Medium Podcast. I'm Brad,
And I'm Nanette.
and today we are going to continue the conversation that we had with LtG from the PSS After Hours podcast.
And he's super cynical.
He is cynical, but Nan is starting to win him over, and I think this is going to be a great episode because we're going to hear some stories that he had from Skinwalker Ranch.
I know, it's going to get weird.
Things are going to get weird. At least that's what LT might say. Now, thank you for jumping in again. Here we go.
Skinwalker Ranch. I haven't told anybody. We haven't really talked about it to anybody. So we went up there, and one of my brother's friends, we used to go on, we would call them bro trips. Mm-hmm. And I went on them with my brother and with his friends before I got married. And then once I got married and just never went on them anymore. But his name's Jeremy. Jeremy saw that we were doing our podcast. He'd been listening to the podcast. He said, hey, I want to go, because he's really into this stuff. So he said, I want to go to Skinwalker Ranch. And he runs a surveying company. Mm-hmm. He brought up like 5 different drones. We had thermal, we had night vision, we had GoPro cameras all over the place. I mean, and then we had all of our gear that we brought up. So we went up there. Now where we stayed, I think it's called the UFO campground, which is, it literally, there's a barbed wire fence, and that's Skinwalker Ranch right next to you.
Gotcha. So you were right there.
Oh, yeah. So the mesa, and we went up on the mesa, and you could look over the mesa and actually see Homestead 1, Homestead 2. I was laser range finding, you know me, doing all that stuff. I was laser range finding. We were 151 yards from Homestead 1. I mean, we were right there. As a part of staying there, you have the option where they'll take you on an ATV tour up on the mesa so you can actually see stuff. Well, there was a bunch of different things we wanted to do, and I won't go into all of them. We wanted to get up there and send up some drones and fly over different areas, because on one of the Skinwalker Ranch series on, I think it's History Channel or Discover or something now, our Secrets of Skinwalker Ranch, that's what it is. They do a bunch of different stuff where they were flying a drone and they were doing surveying themselves, and they saw what looked like, as they're flying around, they kind of pillars, because it's a digital photo that you're getting back, right? It's not a real picture because with the software, but you could see these almost like tornado looking things that went up. So our first thing, I said, well, yeah, it's probably dust devils. It's picking up the dust devils. Weren't dust devils, because it was actually opposite. You know, dust devils are big up top and they get small when they get to the ground. These were big on the bottom and got small when they went up to the top. So we actually flew the exact same pattern. Well, let me back up a little bit. let me back up a little bit. So we get there, we get everything set up. And as soon as we get up there, I pull out my phone and I look at my phone, and it's, 90%. And we walk around for maybe 5 minutes, and I'm seeing if we got a signal, because we set up a Starlink. So now I'm seeing if we have a signal. I look at my phone and it's 1% and it dies. Oh, it's like, what the, anybody else's phone? Everybody's picking up their phones, and their phone's battery is like almost completely drained on everybody's phone. Like, what the hell? So I don't know. So we don't know at the time. So we go, I plug my stuff in, and my phone will not charge. I can't get it to charge. And I'm like, I've got to get this thing to charge somehow. So I tried it in my car, and then I took it out and we hooked up plugged into the generator with a fast charge cable. It won't charge. My phone will not charge. And nobody else had the problem of it not being able to charge. Their phones would just drain super fast. So the first night we get there, we set everything up, and Jeremy sets up all of his batteries and gets them all hooked up for all of his drones. And the next morning we wake up, we start flying drones, just doing some, peripheral stuff and just kind of flying around. He sends his first drone up, and he literally sends it out in maybe 10 seconds, and he's getting a low battery warning. And he just pulled it off the charger. So he brings it right back. He's like, dang it, what the hell? Puts the next one in, sends it up. It goes for maybe 10 minutes, and it's like an hour battery. It should last at least an hour. 10 minutes, and it's giving him the signal that it's almost dead. Like his drone's going to drop out of the sky. So he brings that back. And that happened with every one of our batteries of anything that we used out there.
Wow.
Like a laser that we used this little high power laser because we were shining it on, because they did on one of the Secrets of Skinwalker Ranch, they shined a laser and you could see some light kind of, it almost looked like light was just dissipating once it hit the mesa. And the reason it was is because it has like quartz and stuff in there. And so we were just seeing if we would recreate it. And so sure enough, but turn it on for maybe 2 seconds and it starts dying. Like, what is going on here? Now, I'll tell you just 3 other quick things about Skinwalker, but they're 3 kind of interesting things for a skeptic like me. So first, let me talk about, there are 4 things. So first, let me talk about the battery thing. I don't think that's a paranormal thing. I don't think it's an alien thing. What I honestly believe, because the people on Skinwalker Ranch, when they're filming it, kind of experience the same thing. Mm-hmm. And their batteries mess up and things just happen. Well, the Uinta Basin is basically a big bowl, right? Mm-hmm. And there's some now theories that there was a meteor at one point in time that created that basin, right? So there's all kinds of different metals in meteors, right? And they've found different meteors with different metals. They're all the same metals we have. It's not like it's an alien metal or anything, but, and because it's a bowl, they have actually found through the Secret Skinwalker Ranch show, they believe that because of the way solar rays and radiation come in, they kind of refract in that bowl and they play havoc with electronics because of that reason, because it all refracts around there and it reflects around. And so that's what I personally think. And maybe because there's also a belief that because there is some actual radiation that you can find up there. And a lot of that they say is from, the downwinders during the testing in Nevada back in the day. So I attribute the battery stuff more to, because like we were talking about, don't look at the fantastical first. Let's try to look at common sense, what might work, right?
Yeah.
For sure.
And so that's what I truly believe with the batteries. But 2 other things that I got nothing on. So we set up GoPros around our camp and we just had them film in the sky because Skinwalker Ranch is alien stuff.
Yeah, UFOs.
And so there's that stuff, and there's the thoughts of paranormal and portals appearing and demons crawling out of portals and stuff like that. And I don't believe any of that stuff, to be perfectly honest with you. I mean,
Do you believe in aliens?
okay, well that's kind of a deep question. So let me say this: our universe is infinite.
It's vast.
Right? I mean,
Absolutely.
basically, as far as we're concerned, it's infinite.
Right.
And is literally ever expanding. Right? So Earth is about 4.5 billion years old.
It's not 5,000.
No, and dinosaurs aren't real.
What?
You know that,
I'm
right?
so crushed right now.
Right? Exactly.
Just
Right?
a faith builder.
Yes. So, yes. Oh my gosh. I didn't see that one coming. That was perfect. That was perfect. Well played. Once again, very well played, man. But we're about 4.5 billion years old, right? And they think we're more towards the center to mid of the Big Bang, right?
Right.
So if we're center to the mid and there's so much more out, there's, you have, if we're 4.5 billion years to get to where we are now,
Right.
there's probably 8, 10, 12 billion year old planets out there, right? So, and there's trillions.
It's kind of dumb to think we're the only ones, huh?
Exactly.
For
Yeah.
sure.
That is absolute insanity to me. But that also plays into what I think, and I do believe there is other life out there,
Right.
because you'd be dumb not to think.
Agreed.
Even religious people that, no, we're created in God's image. And okay, well, let's say we are created in God's image, but, who's to say there's not something else out in these other areas? I mean, I don't know. I just,
Well, I'm going to pull religion into it again.
Do it.
think about LDS religion. You guys both raised LDS.
I know
You're
where you're
taught
going with
that
it.
you can become gods
Yep.
and
And
goddesses
goddesses.
of your own planets.
There you go.
Right?
Exactly.
So let's just go with that theory.
There you go.
could be millions of
There you go.
gods and goddesses over their own planets with other people
There you go.
of different advancements or levels in their technology
Right.
who are coming to say, whoa, look at these
Yep.
bunch of morons here.
No,
we're leaving.
No, exactly. But think about this. In trillions, right? Trillions
Right.
of planets, possibilities of life out there.
Yep.
This put the vastness of the universe in perspective for me. If you were just to look out in the night sky and you just pick any point that you want and you were able to travel infinitely at light speed in that vast area, you will never hit a planet. If you point at a black spot and you just go, the chances of hitting a planet or hitting a star or anything else are infinitesimal. It's just not possible. So that shows you how big space is to me, right? You can literally pick any spot and go, all right, go, and you're not going to hit anything. So now to think that there are planets out there that are billions of years advanced, more advanced than us, and there are trillions of planets, that they're coming to visit us, and they found us out of the trillions of planets out there, I don't buy it. I
No.
don't buy that one at all. Nope.
Oh, I got a story for you then.
Not even a little. Go. Let's
I got
hear
a
it.
story.
Let's hear it.
I love people that don't believe.
No, I don't.
he
I
believes.
believe in aliens. I just don't. I don't think
You don't think
we're.
they visit here?
Oh no, absolutely not.
Okay, I got a story for you.
Okay.
Okay, so I used to live in Benjamin, so it's west of Spanish Fork, right? And there are no lights out there. Like it's dark. You drive out there, it's just black. You just keep going. So I was heading from Spanish Fork out to Benjamin, speeding. We'll just put that.
Always.
Speeding.
Always.
And in front of two former troopers, she said.
Right. That's the nice thing is when you're former, you can go, I
That's
don't
true.
really care.
I don't care. Good for you. I speed too. Sorry. Go ahead.
No ticket, dodge that.
Yeah.
But I'm going probably 55, 60 miles an hour on the straight road. And I kid you not, this orb that's maybe, well, I mean, it looked to me to be like maybe 2 feet wide, but just round. And it was really bright. If I'm looking at my windshield, it like equal with the front of my car on the passenger side. And it is speeding along with me for probably a good mile. And I keep looking over at it. It's not moving. Like it's right with me. It's sticking with me. And it's big. Like it's really big and it's really bright. Like colors spinning inside of it and everything. I'm just like, what the crap is that? And then all of a sudden it just darts back the other way, like super sharp and is gone. And I was like, what was that? And I still don't know what it was. I can't explain it. I can tell you I saw it. And I saw it for a whole entire mile. And it was right next to me going 55, 60 miles an hour. Right beside me. I don't know if it was checking me out, trying to make sure I was okay or what. I have no idea. I didn't feel anything from it. It was just really weird and pretty. It was pretty.
So spirit or UFO?
Yeah. See, there's the question.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know, but can't explain it.
Because you're in tune with spiritual stuff.
You'd
right?
think you would have felt something if it was spirit, right?
Now, I have been driving and had spirits come over the roof of my car and landed in the passenger seat. For example, I was going to stay at a friend's house. It was her dad, sat next to me. I was on the phone with Brad at the time too. I said, oh, I just had somebody come in and sit next to me. He's telling me that he has a cat. I'm allergic to cats. And I was like, okay, well, whatever. I think he's telling me he has a cat. I get there. I walk in. My friend's sitting there. She's happy to see me. I had no idea anything about anything. And then this cat comes up and it's a Siamese cat with the long hair.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I was just told about you. And he was all over me, everywhere on me. And I'm just like, I cough and
Yeah.
eyes water and like, I want to just die. And then I see a picture and I'm like, who is that guy right there? And she goes, oh, that's my dad. And I'm like, oh, that's who was in the car with me. So I've had spirit do that.
Wow.
I just have not had the orb thing before. And that was weird.
Well, because I've heard people say too before that they've seen orbs and they've attributed it to paranormal stuff. So
Yeah.
that was a good question. I don't know. Alien.
Me either.
Yeah, it could be either.
I don't know. That fast makes me wonder if it was an alien because it was going so fast and then it darted the opposite way.
Well, here's something I always try to point out to anybody that comes on the show and we talk about is I never say that people haven't experienced what they experience and they haven't seen what they see. Because if you're telling me, then I go, okay. Now, there's some people that I go, well, your story's clearly you're nuts. You saw Bigfoot. Yeah, you
Right.
sure you did.
Agreed.
Right. Okay.
Right.
Bigfoot. Let's be real about Bigfoot.
Let's talk about that.
There are enough great hunters out there that if
Thank
Bigfoot was
you.
real, his
Thank
head would
you.
be mounted in some pub
Thank
somewhere.
you. Exactly.
Russ Whitaker would have shot Bigfoot
Yes.
3 or 4 times already.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And here's another funny thing to that, too. So studying cryptozoology, right, and expand it out to all the things, whether it's Loch Ness Monster, whether it's Bigfoot, whether it's the Chupacabra, whether it's
Say
the
that
Yeti.
with such a great accent. Can you say that again for me?
The Chupacabra. Because Rod has taught me to speak Spanish and corrects me if I say it wrong. Because I was like, the Chupacabra? And he's like, no, the Chupacabra. I was like, oh, all right. So I have to say, he's trained me to say it right. But you look at all of those things. In Loch Ness Monster, for example, one of the really interesting things that I heard is that it's really not a feasible premise to think that there is a Loch Ness Monster or there's another one in Pennsylvania somewhere.
There's one in Utah, the Bear Lake Monster.
It's true.
Is there really?
Yes.
But here's the problem. And how long has it been seen?
Since like the 20s, right? Or
Okay.
Yeah.
Here's the problem with that. Just from a strictly biological standpoint, in order for something to propagate over that much time, there's got to be at least 50 of them. Because you
Valid.
can't
That
have the
makes
same.
sense.
Valid.
You can't have the same one living for,
I don't know. Look, turtles.
well,
Turtles
sure.
live a long time. Crocodiles live a very long time.
Sure.
So
But here's another thing too. All the time that people have been there, nobody has gotten a clear picture of it.
yes, correct.
And that's what gets me too. Look at the digital cameras.
Well, and
Look
there have
at
been
on the
enough
phone.
scams too,
Right.
where people have just set something
Yep.
up and then taken a blurry picture and said,
Yep.
"Look, this is real,"
Yep.
just because they want their little bit of fame.
Well, and have you seen the famous photo?
All about money.
There it is. What we talked about earlier.
Yep.
The famous Loch Ness Monster photo, right? The one of its head sticking out,
Yeah.
that black and white photo, and everybody confirmed that thing was real. And it was a remote submarine that somebody had, even way back in, what was it, the 40s, I think it
Yeah.
was, or 30s, I can't remember.
The famous Bigfoot
yeah,
picture, and
exactly.
it's a dude in a
and
suit.
it's fake as hell.
Well,
But
and
it's
it's never
great.
clear either.
Yeah.
It's always
There it
cloudy.
is.
I love that
Always.
Bigfoot picture though. With
Oh,
his
yeah.
arms are all
It's a
out.
great, and he's looking over.
I want to get one of those Bigfoot statues to put in
Oh,
the
yeah.
backyard, just below the fence line, so as people are driving up the road, they can see it.
Oh, how awesome would that be? Be like, he's not moving because he knows we're here.
Like a raccoon.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
I wish you guys could see Garrett's raccoon impression.
Well, that's what they do, right? You hit him with a flashlight. And
It's exactly what they do.
They actually
Mid-stride?
think you can't see them if they're
Yeah,
not
they're
moving.
going-
And they're so cute. It's just like, stop.
it is. It is.
Bane of my existence.
It's true.
Raccoons.
We have an infestation of them here.
Do you really?
Our neighbors feed them.
Oh,
Yes.
that's not good.
They're like, let's feed the raccoons. They're so cute.
That's
and
not good.
then
There's like 27 of them that
it's ridiculous.
walk the ridge right here.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah. They are cute.
Yeah.
It's a cute
Oh,
animal.
they're adorable when they're little.
Yeah.
We actually called Russ, and he helped with some.
Did
of
he
that.
really?
He
Oh, yeah.
relocated them
To
to
Johnson
Kanab.
Canyon.
Yeah,
Good
Kanab,
man.
Johnson Canyon.
Yeah. On the animal topic, going back to what I was saying earlier, where I want this to be a subject that, like paranormal investigation, I want it to be something that is taken seriously, where you can have somebody like me, a skeptic like me, where if you show some solid evidence that people say,
Maybe.
okay, maybe,
Right.
But when you have all these shows on TV and they're putting out all this misinformation, and then if you actually study any of the information, the parapsychology degree, the cryptozoology degree, you read all of that stuff, and the cryptozoology degree, and going through all of the reading for that, it drove me nuts, because all it is that they would talk about are eyewitness accounts. There's no physical evidence. You have the grainy pictures. They even say in the stuff you're studying about the major you're trying to get, none of this stuff is provable. There's no real solid evidence for it other than eyewitness testimony. And so if
So
that's the
why
case,
put it in a textbook?
thank you. Why even have something called cryptozoology?
Exactly. It's all about
Money.
the money.
That's all it is.
All about the money.
So do I think it's possible there's a Bigfoot? No. I think if people are seeing stuff, they've seen an escaped ape from someplace, if they really did see something, right? And no, the chupacabra, it's actually interesting because the chupacabra, where it first came about was in Puerto Rico. And it came about, did you see the movie Species?
Yes.
Way back in the day, right?
Yeah.
The girl that's born and then turns into the alien.
Right.
So there was an animal that was seen, and it turns out that it was basically a real gangly, hairless dog, is what it turned out to be. But the first lady that ever reported it, she described it as exactly looking, well, not exactly dog-like features, but looked a lot like the creature from Species. Well, they found out through going back and doing an investigation that she had just seen the movie like 3 days before.
Oh,
So that's
wow.
fresh on her mind.
Interesting.
Wow.
And that's how she sees it. But then you go around and you look at other descriptions of the chupacabra, and it's basically a big hairless looking dog. That's all it is. And they talk about the animals, all the blood has been drained out of him.
It's the goat sucker.
Right,
That's, of course,
right,
that's
exactly.
what it's supposed to do.
Right? Well, but here's the thing. If you kill an animal and you leave it there, what happens to the blood? Blood clots.
Yeah, it coagulates.
So you
Yeah.
cut it open, it's not going to bleed. So it's going to look like there's no blood.
It's true.
So there's the point, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they say, oh, there's three teeth mark. Well, what if the dog's missing a tooth? My dog has 3 canines, or the 2 up. What do you call the bottom? Are they canine too?
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
4.
So she has 3 canines, because one of them got broken off before I got her. So she has 3. If she were to bite you,
You'd have 3 punchers.
you'd have 3 punctures.
Yep.
So
Makes
it's like,
sense.
come on, man. And so what really gets me is they go through and they explain all that stuff, but then there's no evidence to support it. And they even say there's no real evidence to support it. And so even with the paranormal stuff and even with the parapsychology stuff, we talked about mediums in the class, talked about mediums, talked about mind readers and all of these things. Well, a lot of the things they do, and it comes down to, you had these scam artists that wanted to prove that somebody was a medium because, once again, they wanted their name in the book. They wanted money. They wanted this. They wanted that. And then the other issue that I have with it is they're basically 5 cards, those flashcards, will hold them up. Like, remember on Ghostbusters?
Yeah.
The
Yeah, what do you
star
see?
wavy lines.
Very good.
Right?
You're great. And
You're
he zapped the
And
other
he
guy.
zapped the guy. He's like, I don't know, 3 wavy lines. He's like, nope. And it was.
It was,
Oh! Yeah.
Bill
but-
Murray's amazing.
But there's only 5 of them. And they break down people actually doing it. Even me. You show me enough of them, I'm going to get a couple right.
True.
I'm going to get a couple right. So once again, if you want it to be a serious subject that's taken of 40 different cards with pictures of something, describe the picture. Now, if they get that 1 out of 40 and they get that, then I'm going to start going, maybe they got something. But then you do it again. Let's say they didn't get that 100% right. But you see what I mean? Like that to me starts becoming a little more tangible and something that we can believe and deal with. And same thing with aliens. Once again, show me one crystal clear picture of an alien spacecraft.
Right.
There's
Agreed.
none.
There isn't.
No.
There's none.
there isn't.
And I really believe.
I don't know. I got a really good one night, and it was like a whole stream of like 8 or 10 of them going across the sky.
Lights.
I was like, holy shit, there's an alien. No one's going to believe this. And I'm trying to get pictures of it, and I got a pretty good one. And I come in and I show Nan. She's like, whatever. Google it. SpaceX.
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 Yep.
I'm like, damn it.
Yep.
It freaked me out, though. I was in the backyard. I'm like, no way, no one's going to believe this. And I'm fumbling for my phone to try and get a good, clear picture. It was awesome.
That's great.
Yeah, for that few minutes, I was like,
Right.
I just had an experience with, close encounter of the whatever kind.
Right.
It was cool.
That's awesome.
And then it was SpaceX, which is still pretty cool, really.
That's actually really cool.
Yeah.
I think that's cooler than it being aliens, to be perfectly honest with you.
Right? That's the whole
that's-
ingenuity of man. Amazing.
Exactly. It's pretty incredible.
I don't know. People say Elon is an alien.
Well,
He's
think he is.
he's actually admitted to it on the Joe
think
Rogan
he is.
podcast.
yeah, he did. I did hear that. He said, I don't know if I'm 100% human. Something to that effect.
And he also talked that this could all be a simulation.
A simulation.
Like The Matrix was a documentary.
Right. You lose me when you say we're living in a simulation. So I think half of the alien stuff, well, all the alien stuff people see, it's military aircraft. And here's a reason why. Here's one reason why. So my dad, back in the 70s, about 75, he was actually driving here in Utah, and he was heading up over, what is that, Price Canyon?
Yeah, SR6.
Yeah, SR6, heading over SR6. And as he's driving, he's like, I gotta get out and go to the bathroom. So he gets out, and he's going to the bathroom, and he hears this thundering. And he looks up, and he sees this big black wedge go whoosh right over his head. And he was like, what the hell? I just saw a freaking UFO. No lights. It was just like 40 feet over his head. And so I got a little older, and he told me about it. Yeah, I saw this thing, and I was like, oh, what do you think of the aliens? No, I guarantee it's military aircraft of some type. And he wanted to believe in aliens. I mean, he really did. But he's like, no, that it's got to be aircraft of some type. So fast forward to when the B-1 bomb? No, it's the B-2.
That big stealth bomber.
Yeah, the big flying wing.
Yep.
When that came out, I remember, I think it was the 80s when it came out. Dad comes to me, and he goes, look at this. He goes, you see what they just put out to the public? He goes, that's exactly what I saw that night. That's exactly
awesome.
what it
So
was.
They were just testing it.
Yes, exactly.
Makes so much sense.
So they're all test flights. Now, the reason that I say that they're military aircraft is because think about that. That's technology from the 70s. They're flying it in the 70s, at least test flying it still. They probably had worked on it since the 60s.
Right.
So now, fast forward to where we are now. You look at an F-14. You guys see the new Top Gun?
Yeah.
Yes.
Right? You see the F-14, and that was badass when the movie came out in 86.
And now it looks like
And now you look
pile.
at the
Looks
fifth. Now you look
freaky,
at that
yeah.
fifth generation fighter. That's just stuff that's known to the public. So there's
Yeah, imagine
military-
what we don't know, right?
Exactly. So that's kind of my point.
Do you
That's my
remember our
alien.
grid?
Oh, yeah, that was weird. Have you ever seen grid lines in the sky? Okay, weird.
There we are.
Weird. Yeah, there we are. There we were. There
Another
we
one.
were.
No shit. There we were.
So we're sitting in the backyard at my house in Spanish Fork, and we're laying on the trampoline just looking at clouds, right? And the sky starts to fade, the sun's going down, and so you get that where it's not quite dark,
Where
it's
it's
not
dusk.
quite
Yeah.
day,
Yeah.
it's just dusk, and we're looking up in the sky, and you start seeing, when an airplane flies across and you see that
The contrails?
yeah.
Yeah.
So it looks just like that, but there are literally grid lines. Like if you pulled out a map and looked at your latitude and longitude lines, it looked just like that in the sky. And they were perfectly square all the way across the sky. And I'm like, Nan, are you seeing
Yeah.
this? And she looks at me and goes, like, a grid in the sky, right? And I'm like, yeah. And we just sat and watched it for, my gosh, maybe half an hour.
Yeah.
And it
and
kept
was like,
expanding.
it was getting bigger. And then there was like each line would light up. It'd go light, 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 and then come back the other way. So it was like rippling light from each direction, but you could see all of the grids.
It was crazy. And then
Yeah.
my daughter walked around the corner and was like, oh, hey, what are you guys doing? And we're like, oh, we're just looking at the sky. And she comes over and goes, well, I want to look. And she plops on the tramp with us. And she's like, oh, my God, what's going on up there? And I'm like, what do you see? She goes, like squares. And I'm like, okay, we're not crazy.
making it up.
Yeah.
It was the
Yeah.
weirdest thing. I've not seen it since.
We watched
I
it for
never saw
about
it
2
before.
hours. It happened for
What
like
about
2 hours.
dimensions? Like how big do you think you could say it was? It's just
It crossed the whole sky.
Whole
It wasn't.
holy
It was the whole
Yeah,
sky.
it was like from mountain to,
Mountain. Yeah.
where we could
Holy
see.
hell.
It
It was the whole valley. Like we just watched the whole thing. I can't believe we would be the only ones that would see it.
Yeah, someone had to have seen it because it was unbelievable.
And it went on
I
for
don't
a
know.
few hours. It wasn't just a brief thing.
No, I don't know how to explain it. Like I said, I've never seen
I was
anything
like,
before or
is
since.
this an energy grid?
Yeah,
I don't know.
wow.
Yeah.
And that's what the shaman said. Nan called her shaman's like, hey, I just saw this. What the hell?
Yeah,
and
what-
he's like, oh, they see that all the time in Peru. It's the aliens and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like,
Really?
Yeah.
oh,
It's an actual thing.
Interesting.
I was like,
Yeah.
okay. But it was crazy weird.
I want to ask some questions of the Mormon medium.
Yes, please. And that's why we have you on.
Because, yeah.
If you have questions, we know everyone else has questions, and that's really what we want. Give us some questions,
Yeah,
Gary.
'cause-
What are you wondering?
What are your feeling on aliens?
I'm with you. I mean, we're absolutely stupid to think that we're the only ones in a vast universe. I feel like there's a lot of people that see things and experience aliens. I think that they're kind of sitting out and waiting to help us, because look at us, we're a hot mess right now. We're so divisive and we're self-destructing. And I mean, we may not be as advanced as other civilizations, but I don't think that they want to see us, come to our demise. I don't think this is our first trip around the sun either. I think we've done this a lot of times. Somehow, some way, mankind needs to come together, and they need to unite.
Let me go back to something you just said. So are you suggesting with saying that this isn't our first time around the sun, that we've had previous lives, or
Oh, totally. 100%. Like, how are we as souls supposed to experience all things in just one life? Like, you don't know what it's like to be me. I don't know what it's like to be you. You don't know what it's like to give birth. You don't know what it's like to have a period.
I don't want to know.
But in order
Kidding.
in order for your soul to experience all things and be able to be a creator, you're supposed to learn all things from all perspectives. So go back to the Big Bang. You think about source of the universe and us being created from that source. That's that sparkle that I talk about. When someone dies, you just don't see that sparkle
Right.
in someone. But if you look like at a diamond or, some kind of crystal or something with all the facets on the sides, we're seeing life through one perspective right now. We need to see it from all perspectives so that we can be whole. And so we've done this lots of times. This isn't our first trip around the sun. It definitely probably won't be our last, but it is our choice to come back and do it again. Or we can stay on the other side and we can serve, but ultimately everything is about love, all of it.
I have never heard somebody say that before. The part about you can decide whether you want to come back and experience it again.
That's what I've had Spirit teach me as I interact with the other side. A lot of times family members will say, oh, that's Grandpa right there. Like, he acts like him, he looks like him, he does some of the mannerisms of him. Holy crap, that's him. Like, you can tell you bring that sparkle, you bring that part of your personality, that energy back into carnation with whatever body you inhabit at the time. We're here to experience all things in all perspectives. So you take somebody that's a bad person, say like, Putin, everybody thinks he's bad. But for him, from his perspective, I don't believe he feels like he's doing something bad. He thinks he's doing the right thing. All of us are eyes on him and judging him. But in his eyes and his perspective, his soul is growing where it needs to grow. And he's making the best decisions for what he believes is right for his soul at the time.
Like Thanos.
Like Thanos, exactly. Right?
What if Thanos was actually the hero?
And to him, he would have been. His heart was pure. He thought he was doing the right thing.
Well, and I don't necessarily disagree with him.
Right?
So what does that make me? No, I'm saying, wipe out half and then you're good with resources. Go on, do what you got to do. You said some interesting stuff with that makes me think. I don't know if I necessarily, and not that it matters, 100% agree, but it does give me a lot of stuff to think about.
We should give each other grace and be like, you know what? Her perspective is this, and I need to give her grace where she's at, and be like, I may not have to agree. I don't have to agree, but that person has to grow where they're at.
Well, and here's the thought. So The Gates of Fire, right? One of the best books I've ever read. You recommended it to me years ago. You look at those Spartan warriors. You've been drawn to warriors. Were you a warrior in this life? Did you go to battle? Did you go to war?
You did. And chances are you did it in other lives as well.
Okay, this isn't super serious, but so if there are, I remember way earlier you were speaking about and saying you've seen the like shadow figures.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
When you first started seeing those, did you get a different feeling when you saw those than you would get when you saw, I don't know, a friendly apparition?
I wouldn't even say the dark ones were unfriendly, because they weren't. I didn't get a feeling like that when I saw them. It just was startling because there wasn't a feature to them. They were just a colored in shadow. And I assumed, in my Mormon mind, that it was a demon.
Okay.
Because that's what we're taught.
So what are the shadow figures then? I mean, that you think,
Well,
or that you know, probably. At this point, I would say you know.
what I've learned is that sometimes spirits can, because it takes a lot of energy. Everything's energy, right?
Yep.
So it takes a lot of energy to create a form, or for me to see you.
Right.
So sometimes they can be in a shadow form and just not be completely detailed out, because that's a lot of energy and they're just trying to let you know they're there. But I have had ones that have not been very nice that, like I said, have pinned me, and I had to get away. And the first time it happened twice. The first time that it happened, it was in the corner of my bedroom and maybe 7 feet tall, so almost to the ceiling of my room. And it came over, and I was laying on my bed and I'm awake, and it comes over and hovers on top of me, and my hands are pinned above my head, kind of by my ears. I can't move my hands, can't move my arms, can't move my legs, try to scream, nothing will come out, like nothing. And I'm just staring at this thing right into its face. I didn't see, it was just black, but I could feel just this uneasy feeling all around me, and I couldn't move. I had no control over anything. So after that had happened the next day, I called my shaman and I was like, what is that? And he goes, well, did you guys have a fight? And I said, well, yeah, we did. And he said, well, male and female energy can be in that room. If you guys had a fight, it could be your guys' energies, and entities can attach to those. He's like, so just be aware of that. And I'm like, so, okay, if this happens again, what do I do?
Right.
And he's like, you need to mentally get your hand free, grab a hold of it and tell it to get out, that it's no longer welcome there, for it to never come back. He's like, you command the dark and you ask for help from the light. So remember that next night. So it was that day. And then that night happened again. And I remembered what he said. And so I got my right hand free, because my arms were down by my legs. I got my right hand free and I grabbed a hold of it, and it felt icy cold. I grabbed a hold of it and I pulled it off of me. It was just my hand. I yanked it and I yelled. I said, you are not welcome here. Get out of my house. And I screamed it, and it went out my door, slammed my door, and never came back. I think it was a way for spirit to teach me how to deal with light and dark, because I was going to come in contact with both of those things, and I can't be afraid of either one if I'm going to work in this world.
Do you feel that it wanted to cause you harm?
I think it wanted to cause me fear. So the first time I was afraid, and it had power. The second time I wasn't afraid. I think it was learning. It was a teaching thing for me. Does that make sense? Because at another point in time, I had 2 dark ones. They were small, maybe as tall as my knee, that would push me and pull me up and down the stairs. So I'd go down my stairs and I'd get shoved and I'd fall down the stairs.
So she fell down the stairs so many times during that time period.
Yeah. And it's
I'm
because,
like, why are you falling down the stairs? Do you have a neurological problem? Do we need to get you
Right.
to a doctor? Because it didn't matter if she was going up or down the stairs. She would fall.
She's pulling a Joe Biden walking up the stairs.
so
Yeah,
I would walk
terrifying.
up the stairs and they'd yank on my ankles and pull me backwards. I could feel him grab my ankles and pull me backwards, and I would fall down the stairs again. So it was happening a lot. And I finally, again, went to my shaman and I was like, this is what's happening. And he was like, you need to call them out and tell them to knock it off. And you need to make sure that when you're working with them, that you recognize them and then you give gratitude to them. And I was like, well, why? And he's like, balance in all things. And I was like, okay. And when we started doing that, they disappeared. I didn't have to deal with any more dark ones. We just give gratitude to them. So even nowadays, when I pray, I thank God for my dark ones, because they're part of my balance. And if I need them, I can call on them, just like you could, or Brad could, or anybody else. We have light and dark within us. It's that sparkle, right?
So, yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to, you said a lot of stuff. I'm trying to wrap my brain around it.
I know you're going to be like,
Well, no, one of the things that I know for sure is that, yeah, no way in hell am I tapping into any of this shit, because that would be terrifying to me. So
Yeah.
I'm like, the more you talk,
Yeah.
the more I say, I'm going to keep living in my ignorant world and not having any of this shit bother me,
but you're
because I don't want to deal with it.
You're working, though, in the paranormal stuff. And if you are doing that, it would be a lot, just advice from a medium. It would be easier for you to be able to tap into the ones that you are strong in and have the intention of learning. Maybe, hey, tell me about this. What is this here? Show me this, because you have sight, you have hearing. Maybe you'll have a deeper experience so that you're just able to learn. That's all. I mean, it's not that you're going to get haunted, but you can have your intention be like when we went into the family tree in Santa Quinn. Our intention wasn't to mess with the ghosts. It was to learn and to see if they needed help. The end. That was all. And we had an amazing time.
Do you think, and I don't think I've asked this question, do you think that this is super interesting to me. I feel like I'm talking a lot, but it's because it's super interesting, and I'm down here and I'm trying to think, all right, I've got to ask everything that I need to ask because, I'm down here. Do you think that there are evil spirits that wish us harm? Because I know on the one hand, you kind of said, well, we got light and dark and they kind of balance each other, and maybe the dark's trying to teach you something. But do you think there are malevolent things that do exist? Because if there's good,
there's bad.
There's got to be bad.
100%. Yeah.
If there's evil, which we've seen in life, we've all seen in life.
We have. Yep.
We've seen evil.
Yep.
Then there's got to be something the polar opposite.
Exactly.
So what do you think is that evil, like the evil on that side? Like, are there demons?
Absolutely. There are. Yes.
Have you ever seen one?
There's different degrees of dark. Does that make sense? So the ones that are associated with us, that are on this plane with us, they work with us. If you're pissed off, or, you throw shade at somebody, or, that's part of your dark, and that's okay. But you use them, you use that energy. Remember, everything's energy. Even if it's dark energy, it's still energy, and you use that. But there's different degrees of it, and some of it's not us. It's otherworldly. But if you think on the flip side, on the light side, you've got your spirit guide that's with you all the time. Each of us have one or two or several, depending on where we're at in our life. We have our ancestors and our close family members and friends that are part of our team as well. But then we have angels. So the angelic realm is going to be a lot higher than these other ones, right? Because they oversee everything and they see the whole picture of everything, and they can make things happen. So here's a challenge to you. If you can't sleep at night, which you have problems sleeping, don't you? Yeah. If you have issues sleeping, ask your angel or your archangel, who's assigned to you, help me sleep. And you watch in 30 seconds, she'll be out cold. They do, but you have to ask the light. You command the dark. So no matter how deep in the dark you get or how evil they get, you still command them. It's just they're more scary. They're bigger. They're uglier. And they can be scarier. But it's you feeding them that fear that makes them grow and gives them power. It's energy.
That's interesting. So have you ever seen what you would consider a demon?
Yes.
No shit.
No shit.
What it looked like?
It had
Was it
red
scary?
eyes. At the point in time that I saw it, no, because I wasn't afraid of that anymore.
Oh, okay.
Like I said, spirit teaches in these baby step ways, and I think it prepared me to not be afraid, because if I would have been afraid, I probably never would be doing what I'm doing right now. Do you know what I mean?
No, for sure.
But it was to the point where I felt empowered. I knew how to move energy. I knew how to command the dark. I knew how to work with light. I'm a light worker. That's my intention. It always has been. And so when I saw it, I commanded it, told it to leave, told it it had no place here. It needed to leave, and it cowered and went away. But I saw the red eyes, I saw the dark, I saw the black. It's just not scary anymore. And I'm not saying that there's the one that I saw didn't scare me. There's probably worse, than I haven't seen them. I don't ever want to see them. That's
Right.
not my intention. So no thanks.
Well, okay, so if it's not somebody's intention to see them, right? If you're kind of putting that out there, or do you feel anyway that can they interact with you without you kind of putting out the energy to attract them?
Well, you don't have to attract them. Let's say that, for example, you're in a space where somebody was murdered. Okay. It's going to have that negative energy, that dark energy there. And then you go into that energy, and let's say something dark pops up and you see it. And you, holy shit, I'm afraid. Oh my gosh, it's freaking me out. You're feeding it fear, and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and messes with you more and more and more because it wants to keep growing. And that's just, does that make sense?
So it's increasing, like you talk about the levels of the dark. So it's it starts here, but the more you feed it, the bigger it starts getting, and it starts getting to that scarier level of demon. Is that what it does?
So it can grow not only in size, but I mean, depending on the area and what you're dealing with, I mean, the malevolence can be worse too. It just depends on what happened there. You know, there's always a residual energy to a place, which is what I was going to ask you about the Skinwalker Ranch. If you felt like the residual energy from what happened there between the Utes and the Navajo Indians, and if there was, I mean, the Utes killed them.
Oh, yeah. And that's one of the things that I found was interesting is, you know, how Skinwalker Ranch got its name, right? I mean, it's obviously the Utes and the Navajos had their disagreements because the Utes kind of sold out the Navajos according to history, right?
Yes.
And so the Navajos put the curse on them, the Skinwalker curse, and on the area and whatever. But maybe once again, and the more we talk, the more I realize a lot of this is on me then, because I went into it not lending any credence to that, not to the story, because I know the story's true about them, you know, Navajo and Utes fighting. I understand that, but not lending any credibility to thinking that the Navajos could call down a curse like that on somebody else. So I'm going bullshit. And if anybody listens to my podcast, that's one of the things I'm kind of famous for, is just going bullshit. Like, come on, man. Like, you expect me to believe that? Like,
Right.
So, okay, I could say, I'm calling down Skinwalker curse on you. Okay, right? So I went into it with that feeling going, whatever. Like, I literally sat there at one point and I said, Skinwalkers, bring that weak ass shit on. And the guys I was there with were pissed off because they were like, dude, don't be doing this, man. Why are you doing this? Well, but at the same time, but a Skinwalker's supposed to be evil anyway. So what do I give a shit?
Is it though? Is it?
Well, I don't know. That's what it's supposed to be, because people that have seen them, they all say that they have an eerie, horrible feeling.
Okay.
They say they're super scary.
Okay.
I'm just saying,
But
now
what-
maybe they're misinterpreting that for something else after we've been talking and I'm
What if
understanding
they're
more.
protectors of the area? What if the area is sacred and they're protecting the area? I mean, that's what resonates with me, especially with the Indian Ute chief that we know that went on that ranch and did a ritual ceremony to give gratitude. And he said that the air and everything stopped, and that the area remembered him, that it was a sacred place for him to, even as a Ute chief, to stand. It was a sacred place. So I don't even think that he believed that it was cursed.
I'm trying to figure out the right thing to say, because I understand what you're saying and I see what you're saying with that, is that, you know, maybe the Navajos were calling down the Skinwalker is not necessarily cursed, but like you said, probably the best way that I've heard it is being protectors of that particular land.
Yeah,
And that, no, this is our land. So if they're scary to you, but they're protecting it for us,
exactly.
type of a thing, right?
Well, if I was going to have you guys protect my house, you'd be armed to the teeth with everything. You wouldn't look nice. Do you know what I'm saying? So you would look scary so that I wouldn't get messed with.
But you would feel comfortable
Having
and
you
safe
there.
with them being there.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's, wow.
That's just what it feels like to me. I'm super curious to go there. I want to go there with you now, with your 3 senses that are open, and have you be open to learn. Not to shut it down, but to learn and be like, okay, teach me. Teach me.
I'm kind of freaked out at this point. I don't think I want to do that.
Thank you for listening to the Mormon Medium Podcast.
We have been talking to LtG with the PSS After Hours podcast. We've learned that he does have some gifts.
Now, this conversation does span over multiple episodes.
So stay tuned to hear more ghost stories, and let's see if we can win him over.
If you'd like to listen to the PSS After Hours podcast, book a reading or an energy healing with Nanette, or even buy the Mormon Medium a cup of coffee, go check out the show notes and tap on the links. I promise you don't want to miss out.
Such a dangerous game.